going. And that's how it happened, right? Yosef was sold down to Mitzrayim, and there was a hunger, and then the brothers went down, and eventually they told them that they found Yosef in Mitzrayim, and Yaakov Avinu went down, and the whole show was transferred down to Mitzrayim, and out of that came all the descendants who were enslaved in Mitzrayim and Egypt and were eventually redeemed. So the point is, because God already made this covenant with Avraham Avinu, because God already made this covenant, this promise to Avraham Avinu, it seems obvious that he had the whole thing planned. That one way or another, he was going to get Yaakov and the Shvatim down to Mitzrayim. One way or another, he was going to get Yaakov and the Shvatim down to Mitzrayim. And the whole process would unfold, the whole process of the exile, the enslavement in Mitzrayim, and the eventual exodus and so on. So since that's the way it is, and God obviously planned out this whole thing, what's this big complaint about Mechidus Yasam? I mean, one way or another it had to happen. So obviously God put the whole thing in motion, as if to say it must be that God put the idea into the minds of the Shvatim that they should sell Yosef, and in that way the Shvatim and Yankov should be forced to go down to Mitzrayim. The whole thing should happen. So that we have this accusation against God that he's exercising a kind of conspiratorial force against us, and therefore we're not to blame for our supposed sins, because it seems to be all part of the divine master plan. So this is a medrash, and the medrash does not offer any defense of God in reference to this accusation either. So once again, I'm just presenting traditional rabbinic sources of unimpeachable pedigree that seem to put forth ideas to sound themes that are prominent in Chassidic literature and so on. So, okay. So, but obviously, okay. So I'm proposing that there's quite a decent that a lot of the things that we think of as Chassidic themes that might seem radical and innovative, perhaps a lot of it is just difference in stress. Perhaps a lot of it is just that Chassidim put more emphasis on certain things, but it's not really like those themes and those tendencies don't appear before in the tradition. It's not really like that. And even so far as to say that those themes and those tendencies can be found among Misnagdim, opponents of Hasidism, and so on. However, of course, there must be something new about Hasidus. So, what are we talking about? Now, talking about the business of sin, and how Chassidim look at sin, and what might be new or striking about Chassidic attitudes towards sin. So I think that we might be able to identify a number of levels. In reference to that. There's a famous type from Reb Nachman in the Madura Kama Reish Pei Beis. Reb Nachman says that means the pasuk from Tehillim v'oid matvein Rosh v'speinant al makoyme v'einenu. Soon there won't be any Rosh anymore, and if you contemplate his place, he is not there. So Nachman explains, interprets it that v'speinant al makoyme v'einenu hainu kshetzboinin v'tistakal al makoyme madrigosa, that if one would really meditate upon, focus upon, look into where this person is really holding. If you see someone who seems like a Rosh, he seems like a Rosh, an evildoer. So Reb Nachman says that ultimately to classify a Jew as an evildoer flat out is a superficial perspective. Ultimately it's a superficial perspective. Because even if someone looks like a Rosh, even if someone looks like an evildoer, you need to look harder. You need to look harder, go deeper, and try to find a little good. You need to try to find a little good in him. Sheyesh bayadayin, which he still has. Shesham einoi Rosh. In that place where he has that good, there he's not a Rosh, there he's not an evildoer. Ki afal pisha Rosh. Even though he's an evildoer, a wicked man. How is it possible that he doesn't still have a little bit of good in him? How is it possible that he never did any mitzvah or good thing in his life? And by means of this, that you find in this person some little bit of good, that there is not a Rosh, about the Don Oisel Kafschus, and therefore you judge him more favorably. You judge him more favorably. And that way, you lift him up at emes. You truly lift him up from the side of blame, to the side of merit. Until he will, in fact, repent in this way. When you'll think into it and look into his place, his level, and he's not there anymore in his first place, in the place he was originally, by means of this, that you find in him yet some little bit of good, some point of good, a point of light. And you judge him to the side of merit. And that way, you truly bring him out from the side of blame, from the side of guilt to the side of merit. That is what it says. Once you meditate, contemplate his place, he isn't anymore what he was. So this thing that Reb Nachman says, I would describe this, I think, as messing with sin and kind of seeing a certain redemptive aspect, but I would describe it as rather mild, because Reb Nachman it's really like focusing on the sinner, not the sin. What he's saying is that you can't really say that any Yid is just flat out a Rosh. You can't say that Yid is just flat out a Rosh. You don't think that a Yid, that this person has some good qualities, that he did some good things in his life. So if you focus upon that, you'll come to see him in a new light. You focus upon that, you'll come to see him in a new light. And if you come to see him in a new light, in that way, spiritually,